Very simple equation. So mathematically, you can define photosynthesis just by using this equation, where photosynthesis is simply the process whereby inorganic raw materials like carbon dioxide and water are being combined in order to produce a glucose molecule. Meanwhile, oxygen is being given off. Solar energy is being used in the process that is captured by chlorophyll to power up the process. Now, this is simply the ordinary level standard. In the advanced level, you need to understand how the carbon dioxide is going to be used, and also how the water is also going to be used, and how this glucose molecule is also going to be produced, notably on also how the oxygen molecule will be given off. You need to simply understand the process. So in order for us to understand all this process of photosynthesis, we need to recall firstly the anatomy of plant cells. We all know that plant cells differ from animal cells in the sense that plant cells generally have a cell wall, yes, but they have an extra organelle that animal cells don't possess. This extra organelle is called the chloroplast. It's called a chloroplast. The chloroplast. So if you have to magnify the structure of this chloroplast, you are going to see that the chloroplast is a double membrane bounded organelle. It has two membranes, outer membrane and an inner membrane. This is the outer membrane and here is the inner membrane. In between the two membranes, you have what is known as the intermembranous space. You have the intermembranous space. Here is the outer membrane and here is the inner membrane, and you have the intermembranous space. You have the intermembranous space. Inside this chloroplast, you have some rounded structures. Some rounded structures that looks like coins. They look like money. Look like coins piled together. A single of this rounded structure of this coin is called a thylakoid. Several of these coins that are piled together are going to form a pie that we generally call this pie as a granule. Different granules can be interconnected to each other with a structure that looks like a blade, which we call it a lamellae. This fluid-filled space inside the chloroplast is rich in enzymes, and we are going to call this fluid-filled space as the stroma. It is rich in enzymes. Now, let's enter the most interesting part. You have always heard that green plants have chlorophyll. Green plants generally have chlorophyll. Now, where is that chlorophyll found in green plants? You know that it is found in the chloroplast. Where is it found in the chloroplast? Now, this is where chlorophyll, if you ever ask a central question, that is good. The chlorophylls are found on the thylakoid membrane. They are found on the surface of the thylakoid membrane. They are found on the surface of the thylakoid membrane. So, because these thylakoids have chlorophyll, and chlorophylls are sensitive to light, photosynthesis is generally going to take place in two phases. The first phase that is going to take place at the level of the thylakoid, we are going to call it the first phase of photosynthesis, or the light phase of photosynthesis is going to take place on this thylakoid. So, the two phases of photosynthesis, we have the light phase. The light phase, also known as the light dependent phase of photosynthesis, light dependent phase. And this light dependent phase will have as goal to produce ATP and reduce NAT, and reduce NAT. Meanwhile, the light, after that ATP and reduce NAT being produced, the next phase of photosynthesis is going to take place inside this stroma that is rich in enzyme, and that we are going to call it, because it does not have the chlorophyll or it is not sensitive to light, we are going to call it as what? The dark phase of photosynthesis, also known as the light independent phase. independent phase of photosynthesis. It's a light independent phase of photosynthesis that you are going to have the production of glucose molecule. The next thing is to understand what happens during the light phase of photosynthesis and what happens during the dark phase of photosynthesis. In the light phase of photosynthesis, if you have to magnify a single structure of this thylakoid, you are going to see that these thylakoid have chlorophyll, and those chlorophyll, they are not just scattered, they are arranged into what we call photosystems. And there are two types of photosystems. They are arranged into photosystems. There are two types of photosystem. We have photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. Photosystem 1 is on a higher energy level. I think intentional to put it up because it was a higher energy level. Then my photosystem 2 is on a lower energy level, so I treat it intentionally in putting it down. These photosystems, they are rich in electrons. Before we understand what is going to happen at the level of this photosystem, you need to understand what Bohr said about electrons, which we are going to see in another video.